Hey guys, Brian here. I hope you're having a great day. Today, we're gonna talk about something that's not really technical. Instead, it's just a list of tips that you can consider to make your or your client's infrastructure cost effective, save more money. So, disclaimer, not everything here would fit your client's infrastructure needs. This worked with my client's infrastructure because it fits with their requirements and it became really effective for them. This is kind of like a diet plan. It's not like a one size fits all. Rather, it's a good tip to try out, but make sure that it checks out with you and your client. But I guess before we go on with the tips, let me tell you a story first. So, how I almost got billed $10,000 by Azure. So, spoiler, I didn't really get billed, but it was a close call. So basically, as MVPs, we were given Azure credits to use for POCs and demos, around $1,200, I believe. So I was demoing the different ways to automate the creation of infrastructures, IAC, infrastructure as a code, using Terraform, Pulumi, ARM templates, Azure Shell, etc. So for a realistic demo, the code would create 5 to 6 resources, which are heavy, by the way. Anyway, after the event, I forgot to delete all of these, and after 6 to 7 months, I just received an email from Azure saying that I'm being billed $10,000. Then I remembered, you know, not deleting these resources, and they were all running for the last 6 7 months. So I spent the $1,200 free credits, and on top of that, I also got billed $10,000 more. So, long story short, I was able to appeal for it and I wasn't billed. Thanks to Microsoft for that. But that gave me a wake up call that I should take care of my Azure spending, and I like to make sure that my clients would save tons of money so they wouldn't be shocked as I was a few years ago. So let me give you a few general tips, and then right after, some of the things that I have done for some of my clients. I guess my first step would be only possible if your client has an on-premise implementation and plans to migrate to into the cloud. Now, if they were using Windows servers or SQL Server Enterprise Edition, if you may, and they had license or they have license, you can actually use these license for the cloud infrastructure. What will happen is that Azure will account the license and remove it from the billing. So instead of you or your client paying additional for the license on top of the usage of these services, you'll only pay for the rest, dramatically reducing the cost of running your workload on the cloud. By the way, it's not just available for Windows and SQL Server licenses. It's also available for, or it also applies for Red Hat and SUSE. The next one is Azure Reserve Instances or Azure Reservations. To make it easy for you to understand, you can compare it to a lease of an apartment, but you're basically paying for upfront for a year. Now, if you do this, if you pay upfront for like maybe a rent for a year, the landlord would be very happy knowing this, that you'd pay for the space for the whole year and knowing that the space would be rented. And all these things and that. Um, Now, if this is the case, most likely he or she will be giving you a discount, maybe a big discount. And that's kind of like how the Azure reservation works. With this, you can tell Azure that you'll need a certain service from them, maybe with a specific compute power for a year or 3 years, something like that, and they'll give you a big discount. Now, the difference is that you can actually choose if you want to pay upfront or not. can actually pay the bill monthly if an upfront payment is really heavy for you. Now, why would they allow you to do this if you can still pay monthly? The difference between the apartment renting is that because you're paying upfront initially, you're given a big discount. Um, the case with Azure is that it is just an option. You can actually pay monthly still. This is really weird, and interesting. Well, the only important thing for them is that they would know that someone will be renting their service for a year, and this allows them to plan ahead. And this is really important for them. So that's kind of like the reason why they are giving discounts to the users who are willing to reserve an instance, whatever it may be. So that's a good thing for us users. Anyway, one more thing that you might think: what if I need more compute power? Because with Azure Reservations, you are basically saying that you want to rent a specific service with a specific compute power for a number of years. So the good thing about this is that it has a flexibility group. It allows you to, or your resources to automatically adjust, or you can just do it manually. Azure reservations are, or should be considered if you are, running a resource that runs 24/7, because I think that's where it really fits. I think I can show you a bit of a demo because I'm really actually planning to use this in the near future, actually, for one of my clients. So this is the Azure reservations. You can just search for reservations up top on the Microsoft Azure's search box, and then you will see the available products for Azure reserved instances. So you can actually choose maybe a VM, an SQL database, maybe Azure Cosmos DB, and some other stuff. So I can choose, like for example, SQL database, and it will launch this new blade that shows you the list of the possible performance tier that you can rent for maybe a year, maybe 3 years. So it depends. And you can select, like for example, I want to go on with the general purpose SQL database. So I can click this, and I will see the price at the bottom. It might take a while, but it will show me the price and how much I will save if I go with this reserved instance. And actually, this is what we have at the moment for one of my clients, and he was actually spending, or they were actually spending around $200 Australian dollars monthly for this, and they don't seem to, or it doesn't seem that they would change the compute power anytime soon. So I really think that this is something that can be uh, offered to them, or can be proposed to them, because definitely you will save them tons of money. And as you may notice, this is a monthly price for a V course. So I can actually change the billing frequency to upfront if I want to pay uh, the full price in ahead of time. So it's really great. It's still, I'm still saving 55%, but I can choose if I want to pay upfront or monthly. So the next tip is something that you can actually do for any subscription. So checking Azure's cost management feature would allow you to be more proactive with managing the costs and get ideas on how we can actually lower it. With the help of the cost analysis, you can actually see the culprit of the high spending. Also, if you see, if you can see, you can actually check the current bill, compare and how it compares to the previous ones. Apart from this, you can actually set up budget and alerts, so you can be notified if your infrastructure will spend more than your expectations or your previous expectations. So let me show you how that looks like. So this is the cost management feature offered by Azure. So you can see this when you go to your subscription. So what you can see here is kind of like a graph to check how much you will be spending for, or kind of like the forecast for your spending for the current billing month. The good thing about this is that you can actually adjust how you want it to look like. Maybe you want it to be a line graph, maybe an area graph, or let's just stick with column for now. But as you can see right here, this is my current spending at the moment. I'm spending around $1.40, but uh, I have a forecast for this day that I'll be spending $8.70, and I also have a few more forecasts for the next few days. And I have the total here at the top. And this is again just the forecast. The good thing about this is I can actually go back from the previous billing period. Like for example, oh sorry, not that one. So this one, last invoice. This is how it went down for my subscription. So I actually spent 399 US dollars for the past month, and I can see here how what really costs the high spending for that month. And if I remove all of the other stuff, I can see that I really spent too much money on my test VM data disk. So with this, I was able to see the reason why I was spending a lot of money. Maybe from this point, I can actually act and fix the issue or fix the problem. Another thing that can help you is budgets and cost alerts. So budgets allows you to set up your budget basically. So I can just say that test budget without spaces, and I can say that it will set every billing period, the creation date. I'll just let it like that. Also expiration date. Now I can say that I want the scope to be not just the subscription. I want it to be specifically on a what you call this, on a resource group, something like that. So let's just say I want to see how much I spend on the demo RG resource group monthly. So this how much I spend. I spent $252 last month. For this past 7 months, that's kind of like how I'm getting monthly. For this past 7 months, the average and the max forecast was 291. So the thing with this is that I'm gonna be able to look at directly at this resource group, and I can say that I want to get alerts specifically for this resource group because I know that I'm spending tons of money for this. Now I can say that this is my budget. This is gonna be my budget for this resource group. Now if I click next, I can now set alerts, meaning if I get an actual or actual spending of like the 90% of my budget, which is 261.90, I want to be alerted. I want to know that hey, you've just got to the point where you spent 90% of the budget. Now I want Azure to do something. I want to receive an email, I want to receive something, so I can actually set this up through the action group. So the good thing about the action group is that you can actually run webhooks or execute webhooks, and you can just set up sending of emails to people. So it's a good thing. It's really a good thing that you can actually be alerted whenever something is happening when it comes to your budget, because it is important to know if you're spending too much. So you can create this. Unfortunately, I cannot I'm not sure why. There we go. So I can just create this, and whenever I get to the point where I'm already 90% off my budget, will receive an email, and I can actually run something through a webhook, something like that. My final general tip would be to use Azure's pricing calculator. This is very helpful whenever you're proposing a solution to a client and they have a certain budget. You want to make sure that you don't go over that budget, and the pricing calculator will definitely help you estimate it. It's not just available for Azure, actually. I think for the other cloud platforms like AWS and Google Cloud, they also have these pricing calculators, and of course for the other uh, cloud platforms as well. So the good thing about this is that it allows you to provide the pricing estimate to your clients, so they'd understand ahead of time how much money will be spent monthly or maybe upfront for their cloud infrastructure. Personally, this helped me a lot of times when I was proposing new solutions to my clients. It gives me the ability to make the solution cost effective. Not only that, it gives my client clear information on how much they will spend and where they will spend their money. So, this is the pricing calculator, and what it does is it shows you the list of the services they offer for their users. So you can actually say that if your solution or if your architecture has virtual machines, maybe a couple of them, and an app service or an Azure Cosmos DB, you can actually click them, and it will automatically be added at the bottom, and you can now uh, set up your desired configuration, so you would see how much you would actually spend in monthly. You can actually say that I want this to be a reserved capacity, so I can click that. So it's going to be much cheaper. How much uh, request units do I need? Things like that. So you can actually see here how much spending or how much it will cost as an estimate, uh, and you will see that you'll spend around this amount, and it's much easier for you to understand that okay, I might not go this far, so maybe Azure Cosmos DB is not the solution. Maybe there are other stuff that I can use. So it gives you a lot of information ahead of time, and this will definitely change the way you're making or you're building the architecture, the infrastructure. So it's a good tool for to start off a project. So those are the main tips that I want you guys to know, but I still have a few more, and this is the list of the stuff that I've done for my client, and they definitely worked. Again, these would depend on your client. I don't think they would work for every client, but these are the things that I've done, and I've saved tons of my clients' money. First one is I chose PaaS over IaaS. We all know that IaaS allows you to do more, you can actually get more power using IaaS, but sometimes PaaS would be enough, especially if you're just using it to host a website. Not only that, PaaS is a lot cheaper, and it has features that allows you to save more money, such as deployment slots, auto scaling, and etc. And just like I mentioned a few seconds ago, auto scaling. So now at the beginning, the client was or my clients, some of my clients were very worried that they wouldn't have enough compute power to handle a large number of users, which happens only a few hours within the day. It's a big deal for them, so my clients usually ask me to use a plan, use a bigger plan to have a more compute power, which is obviously more expensive. The problem with this is that it's going to be up for 24/7, and we don't need that much power. for the whole day. We only need it for 3 to 4 hours in a day. So auto scaling was our solution for this, and my solution for most of my clients' problems, because definitely it allows you to have your resources adjust only when you need it. Adjust the compute power only when it needs to. Now, instead of paying for the heavy premium plan for 24/7, we only need to pay for like 3 to 4 hours in a day for a higher compute power. The next one is to go serverless. And this for me is, I guess, the biggest money saver for some of my clients. When they said that cloud payments model was, pay only when you need it, the serverless technology makes it a lot true because you really only pay whenever you use it. For our database, our functions are only used on certain times within the day, and I think it's only used by some of the users of my client's application for like a couple times in a day, and a lot a lot of times in some days. With the help of serverless, we were able to only pay for the execution time and the transactions happening. So we do not need to pay 24/7 for our database that is not being used 24/7 at all. So it will still be available at all times, but we're just paying for the times that we actually use it. Another one is to take advantage of the service features. You don't have to create a new app service, for example, just to set up a new staging environment. Just like I mentioned above, you can actually use the appointment slots. That's just one thing, but Azure offers you a lot of features that leads to saving lots of money. Next one is region matters. So this isn't really a big thing, to be honest, but you know it just need you to know that region really matters. If you change from West US to Australia East, it would change the amount of your services. Also, if you move from Australia East to Southeast Asia and etc., it will do the same thing. But this wouldn't really matter because what matters most still is the ability for your resources to perform the best. And of course, region matters for that. And you should always pick the closest region to your client or to your desired region. And of course, also always do a routine check on your Azure spending. This would really help you find a way to lower down the pricing. It helped me a lot because whenever I do it on my own, I do check or monitor my Azure spending through the cost management tool. It helped me figure out how to solve the money problems or to save money along the way. So that's really big for me. And I guess lastly, and one of the biggest things that I should remember because I had this problem a couple years ago. If you're doing Azure demos, please don't forget to delete the resources right after. It will definitely save you tons of money. So I learned that the hard way, but I am glad I was able to appeal to that. Now, those are just some of the things or tips that will definitely save you money, but there are definitely a lot more that you can do. Again, it will still depend on how your infrastructure is done and your requirements or clients' needs. So, do some stuff, figure out how you can actually lower down the cost, but definitely you'll figure that out. But again, these are just some of my tips. Hopefully, it helped you, and I hope to see you soon.